Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.
Pause up, pet pals. Welcome to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, you're in for a double treat today. First, we're going to get the inside scoop on what it's really like to be a top professional pet sitter from our pal, Scott Black. And then we're going to talk with one of the most decorated pet authors in the country, and that is Amy Sojai. So, first up, he is an MVP in pet sitting. He takes on floods, hurricanes, and other challenges to be there for his clients and their pets. And since 2005, he's always gone that extra mile. I want you all to please give pause and applause to the founder of Personal Touch Pet Sitting based in the Houston area, my pal, Scott Black. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hey, Arden, how are you?
I'm doing well. And I got to throw this in real quick because it's a big deal. Back in 2010, everyone, he was selected Pet Sitter of the Year by Pet Sitters International. Pet Sitter International, emphasis on international, which means globally, you were the top dude.
It seemed like ages ago.
And you're still at it. There's a passion there.
That's when you and I first met.
I think so too. Yeah. I'm like, who is this dude getting named Pet Sitter of the Year? Oh, he's pretty good. I like him. He's nice. I mean, we want to kind of roll back the tape. You were in New York City in a job you weren't really happy. It's not like your life goal. Tell us what you did and what made you say, I need to pivot and get into something I really have passion for.
Wow. Well, you got 3 hours? No, I'm kidding. No, the Evelyn Wood version basically was I was working in Jersey and New York, and living in Houston in 2001. But when I did have to go into New York, I had to take New Jersey Transit to Hoboken, the PATH train into the city, and my train stop was the World Trade Center. So when the towers went down in 2001, it was a little surreal, but I was working for a mortgage company here in the Houston area that unfortunately was the reason for the big banking bust and mortgage bust. But they wanted me to kind of do some things that I wasn't comfortable with about getting people that were in bad loans into worse loans and profit. So fortunately, they're no longer in business, but it just went against who I was. But it was a job I hated, and sadly, it brought on a lot of anxiety, and anxiety brings on depression and the whole 9 yards. So I had to take a little bit of a break.
Good.
During that time, a dog came into my life. And you know about Ms. Domino, who was the best medicine that there ever was. And Domino and I conquered the world. And because of her, I reached out to a rescue to pay something forward. And through rescue is basically how my business started. I did some pet sitting for the rescue. And at the time, the director saw something in me and said, you know what, you could probably do this for a living.
And you do it well. And I mean,
and here you go. So I'm in my 17th year professionally. I kind of did it, as I think a lot of people get into the industry just to test the waters. But, when I started, I was insured, I was bonded, I was background checked, did everything you need to do, in my opinion, to be a professional pet sitter. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot of boxes to check off there, as you know.
Right. So continuing, Scott, you said professional pet sitter, and I really want you to define it because, you shouldn't just have a neighbor kid over.
No, you're right. You're right. In my opinion, just as if you were going to have a plumber or an electrician, or you want to add an addition to your house and you have a general contractor.
Correct.
Is he insured and bonded and licensed to do business? are the people he's subbing out to do your plumbing and in different industries, independent contractors and subcontractors work well together. In my industry, a lot of businesses use ICs, some use employees.
Well,
But
ICs for those folks is
are
independent
independent
contractors.
contractors. I'm sorry.
That's right.
But you have to be careful because you can't control an independent contractor. They're in business for themselves.
And the other thing I'm thinking of, our home is important. Sure, we may have a nice car, but I really want somebody I trust with my most priceless asset, and
you
that's
know
a
what?
pet.
And credentials to me are important. Like I said, I'm insured, I'm bonded. I run a background check on myself every year as the owner of the business, but I'm a one-man band. I don't have staff. I do it all.
Wow. Wow. And there's
I'm not required to have a business license where I operate, but if I did, I would have it.
right.
As a member of Pet Sitters International, they're the world's largest educational organization for pet sitters and dog walkers.
And you've also earned a certification from them. What does
Yes,
that
and
mean? Because that's a big
the
thing for
certified
pet sitters.
professional pet sitter. It's all about continuing education. You have so many CEUs, continuing education credits to get within a period of time to recertify. I'm a little bit of an overachiever.
I would say that is an understatement, my friend.
Well, but attending conferences, you get so many CEUs for the sessions. I've taken your pet first aid and CPR class where they recognize that continuing education towards recertification. There's all sorts of things you can do. I mean, I'm also a founding member of the Texas Pet Sitters Association, and they have their own conference in different places in Texas throughout, annually. So PSI also acknowledges that, those sessions. So it's very easy to obtain your CEUs, within the 3-year period. But I think it's very important.
I like it. And, sure beats trying to sell a mortgage to someone who financially can't take it.
And the great thing about these conferences, I don't want to demean my industry, but most people can approach a dog and put a leash on, can put food in a bowl, can fill a water bowl and scoop a litter box. Okay, I get it.
Right.
But do you have the training to identify a change in behavior from a dog that you sat 2 weeks ago to them not eating, or there's a change in their behavior?
And I like that because you're the eyes and ears and sounds of any kind of change, and you're on the front line.
Right.
And so I think you are so important to all of us who are lucky to have pets to say, hey, did you notice that, Toby's kind of spilling kibble around the bowl when he eats? Maybe he's got something wrong with a tooth.
Hey, you know what? We just went through this with one of our own cats that recently passed. We noticed that she was having a hard time getting around.
Okay.
And it turned out that she lost her sight. And now we do have another blind animal in the house, but cats and dogs are so different when they can't see. It's amazing. I know I kind of got off the beaten path, but
no.
It took us when you see something day in and day out, you don't notice the minor changes. And I'm sure as a pet parent, you've seen that with your own pets.
Right.
Sometimes, but it took us a while, but Molly managed fine for a while, and then her kidney disease, which I'm sure is what caused the blindness.
All right. Well, we're going to dive in more with professional pet sitter Scott Black after we take this break, and he runs the Personal Touch pet sitting business in Kingwood, Texas, which is near Houston. So you all know the drill. Let's just sit and stay. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. I have been friends with this gentleman, Scott Black, for over a dozen years, and we haven't aged, either one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah.
Not much.
So I'm thinking of a profession. You're in Houston, and Houston, sometimes we have a problem because Mother Nature is not nice. I mean, tell our listeners and those viewing it on YouTube, what are some of the nasty weather situations? Because unlike a mail carrier, who says they're going to get through anywhere and get your package, there's pets at home that need to be walked, fed, pottied. So you can't just sit back and say, I'll wait till tomorrow.
No, you can't. Well, let's see. Since I've been in business, I've dealt with Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Katrina, Ike,
It almost
Harvey.
sounds like a new musical band, doesn't it?
Yeah, Harvey with the flooding.
Right.
Then we've also had two minor floods in the area, a tax day and a Memorial Day flood. Let's see. Oh, then we had the freeze.
Yeah.
Thanks to the power grid here in Texas.
Yep.
And then we had a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm a cockroach, all these
In a very good way. You're a survivor,
yeah,
right?
like you can't kill them, and I'm a shapeshifter, and I think part of being a professional, getting back to professional pet sitting, is that when things like this happen, it sometimes you have the aha moment, go, well, wow, like that was close. Like, how do I make sure this never happens again?
Good.
And sometimes you just can't get to a client's home.
Right.
During Harvey, I will say Harvey was probably the scariest with all the flooding.
Okay.
Fortunately, I didn't flood, but I couldn't get out of my neighborhood. I live very close to Lake Houston and the San Jacinto River, and literally the bridge that I cross multiple times a day to get to and from clients, the boats were on top of the bridge.
Wow.
That's how high the water was.
So what's some advice you can give pet parents and others about when disasters? How do we kind of try to prepare for the worst and hope for the best?
Well, just like you or I mean, I know you have your go bags ready, I'm sure.
Yes.
Your first aid kit, your go bags. I mean,
Yeah.
but people need to be prepared. And, not to make a sad situation, but one of the houses I couldn't get to that flooded had two dogs in crates on the lower level of the house.
Wow.
The water was too high. I couldn't get back there. But when a professional pet sitter asks you for one or two emergency contacts
Good.
in the event that they can't get to your home, fortunately in this case, a neighbor had a key to the house. She was being airboated out and was able to get the dogs.
So that's a big thing. I mean, I want to get out some tips. So have a to-go quickly bag that's for you
Yes.
and one for your pets. But also, when you line up with a professional pet sitter like yourself, make sure there's some backup and that you can immediately contact people because people may be on vacation. They may not be able to get to their homes. So this is something you do in the meet and greet, right?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, it starts prior to that. When I onboard a new client, it starts with the phone call.
Okay.
I don't use technology to onboard my clients. It's a phone call. I want to talk to them. I want them to talk to me.
Rather than texting, you want to get a conversation.
Well, as a former writer, and how many books?
Wait a minute, I still am a writer.
Well, but a sports writer, okay.
Oh, sports writer, yeah.
And you're a wonderful author now, but the written word could be misconstrued. That every word that gets put on a page, you got to make sure the average person's going to understand what they're reading, right?
Yeah, and as a writer, I used to learn that we have the humblest and the healthiest of egos, because when you write something, it's like you're walking in public with your underwear on. Everyone can take a shot at you.
Well, and I kind of feel that way about texting and email.
Yeah.
You may be having a bad day, and someone might say, "Hey, are you available?" Da 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 da, and I might say, "Look, I know your dogs are flexible. I could probably work them in, but I can't guarantee a specific visit time." So if you get that reply from me, you might say, and if you're having a bad day, you might be like, "Well,
Don't
that
say
was
it.
kind of rude."
Yeah, I know you're going to say.
Well, no, I was just being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I am Mr. Cellophane. I put it all out there.
Wait a minute.
No.
I have learned 2 descriptions of yourself on this show I've never heard you say about yourself. You're Mr. Cellophane and you're a cockroach. I mean, come on.
And a shapeshifter. And a shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter. Yeah. There we go.
With each disaster, I have to change.
But the main thing is just
honesty and transparency. To me, I think is the success of my business. I'm not going to say I can do something and not deliver. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know there's a lot of people that say, well, I under promise and over deliver. And, sometimes you just can't do that.
Well, one thing, we've got about 2.5 minutes left, and I really want to tell this story because one of the things that I love you the most for is you have a special heart for special needs pets. You have Chato. You want to give a shout out to Chato? Chatopotamus?
Yeah. Chatopotamus. The Adventures of Chatopotamus. Yeah.
Who is he? Tell people.
Chato is a dog that we adopted years ago that had a really rough start. He, at a very young age, well, he was a victim of poor breeding, first of all. He is a Shar-Pei Bull Terrier mix, and because of the poor breeding, he was born with eye sockets and undeveloped eyeballs, and he's probably about 90% deaf. That might be him, Tippy pausing in the back.
I hear that. He's like, right on cue, Dad, right on cue.
Oh my gosh, I got to try to pick him up.
Come here, Chato.
And he probably can't hear you, but anyway.
No, I know.
Anyway, so
he feels my
he's
love.
definitely hearing impaired. And he was with a girl, a family that loved him dearly, and then they brought an intact larger breed male in, and that dog used him as a chew toy.
Aww.
And literally tore the whole bottom of his muzzle off. And they kind of tossed him to the curb because he was damaged goods now. And fortunately, I have a friend that does special needs rescue, and most of the dogs are Danes or Dalmatians with double merle or visually or hearing impaired. And she took him in, and then she brought him out to a rescue event, and I spent the entire day with him and just fell in love with this dog.
Well, Chato's a lucky dog. We got about 30 seconds left, so grab him. Bring Chato.
Hang on. I need to get some assistance here.
All right, Hale's going to help you. While you're doing that, we're airing this on December 31st. What's a good resolution you want to shout out to pets and their people?
I think people need to pay attention to. Hang on.
You got to lift up 90 pounds of Chato. Chato, I know he can't hear me, but I'm sending love. Chato. Chato looks like Stevie Wonder right now.
There he is. There's my boy. I
love Chato.
People need to read the labels on their dog food bags about how much they feed. I see a lot of overweight pets. Pet parents need to make resolutions to feed their dogs properly and limit their treats. Treats are good. I mean, I know dogs know when you break one in half, but you can still give them one treat and break it up into multiple. But just to be responsible, and if they are going to use a pet sitter, that they do their homework and use a professional.
I appreciate that.
And for anybody looking for a pet sitter, I believe, NAPS is petsitters.org.
Right. And PSI is
petsit.com. They both have locators, and they would have, a listing for each member business.
Yeah, they're both very reputable organizations. Yes. You belonged on PSI. It is petsit.com. And your site is petsit.com/PTPS, which stands for Personal Touch Pet Sitting.
Exactly.
And the other one is petsitters.org for the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters.
Right.
So, my friend, I wish you a safe holiday. I love you for all you do. And thank you for being a pet's best friend. Thank you, Scott Black.
Thank you, Arden. Back at you, my friend.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with probably the person who has the strongest typing fingers, and that is renowned, talented author Amy Sojai. So stay. We'll be right back. Pause up, pet pals. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video, please hit the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel. I want to keep providing you with great guests, special first aid tips, and yes, more videos of these guys. See you next time. Pause up!